Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great, thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another video. I'm really sorry, I've been holding this in for a long time, so please excuse me while I rant for a few minutes. Obviously, this is a very precarious time for women's reproductive freedom in the United States. I mean, we're literally one 86-year-old woman who has survived cancer 3 times away from abortion being illegal in this country. I mean, what can I say about that besides elections matter? No, I'm really not sympathetic to anti-abortion arguments, because how can you be against abortion and be ramped up to stop abortion but don't want to fund programs to protect pregnant women? That doesn't make sense to me. I checked out the CIA fact book, and the United States is actually one of the most dangerous countries to be pregnant and have a baby in the Western world. We live in a country with virtually no social safety net for poor people. That's why women with children make up a shockingly high number of the adults who live below the poverty line. So if you're not going to be aggressive about mitigating the circumstances that plunge so many women and children into poverty, or if you're not going to address the circumstances that make pregnancy 4 times more dangerous for Black women than white women, then why should I care what you have to say about fetuses? I've never been able to understand how you can say that you care about babies and children when at the core of the anti-abortion argument is babies are a punishment for women's irresponsibility. And yeah, women are still the ones who are punished, because you know who can still walk away? Men. And I don't even want to hear about child support and custody and all of that, because most men don't even make enough money for child support to even be a real thing, okay? Let's stop it. Please, nobody cares about your $300 a month. What kind of life do you expect a baby brought here as a punishment to have? What kind of mothering do you expect a baby brought here as a punishment to receive? And then conservatives consistently vote to defund social programs. Our foster care system is a mess. It is disgusting and outrageous. The adoption process is cost prohibitive for 90% of the population. But yeah, you really care about children. Years ago, I heard Oprah say something that honestly changed my life. She was saying it in her, there used to be this show on OWN. It was called Masterclass. And she said in her masterclass that every child deserves to arrive on this planet and be wanted. I mean, this is not some abstract concept. These are fetuses that become babies, that become teens and adults. And they grow up and have to carry all of these traumas. And when they act out those traumas in any of the number of ways that they might act them out, then we point the finger at those people and say, oh, well, it's your fault for being born. And there's another part of this discussion that drives me absolutely crazy. How is it that anytime we're talking about abortion, somebody always chimes in to say, well, what if you were never born? What if your mom had aborted you? Or I'm glad to be alive. I'm glad my mom didn't choose abortion. And it's like, what? I do not understand this argument. I respect the work of mothering. I am glad that I was parented and cared for and mothered. However, I respect my mother primarily as a person, as an autonomous woman who has a whole life outside of being my mom. And I'm not so self-obsessed and narcissistic to think that the fact that I happen to make it on this planet is more important than her right to decide for herself what is best for her life. And by the way, just looking at the statistics, there's a fairly good chance that your mother or another mother you know has had an abortion. So are you gonna go to them crying over all the siblings that you didn't get? Get your head out of your ass. Frankly, it's quite sad that so many people can only understand this conversation, a conversation about rights and freedom and autonomy in terms of what would have happened to you hypothetically. Girl, nothing would have happened to you. You wouldn't have made it on the planet. You never would have existed. Like, why are we having this conversation? I feel good knowing that my mom had me because she wanted me, not because she was forced to. And I know a lot of people can't say that, and frankly, that's a tragedy. 25% of pregnancies end in miscarriages. That means there are millions upon millions of fertilized embryos and fetuses that do not result in live births. That's life. The selfishness and the myopia in these conversations is beyond me. And I want to say this as nicely as I can. But are we all doing things that are so great, so important, that the course of human history would be permanently altered by the fact that we didn't make it onto the planet? Most of us are average. We all want to think that we're so smart and we're so important and our lives matter so much. No, girl, what did Beyonce say? Don't you ever get to thinking you're what? irreplaceable. On a similar but slightly tangential note, I was watching a clip of this podcast on YouTube, and the two hosts said something that was so asinine to me that it made me furious. They were insistent that every woman wants to have a baby, that it is a natural urge for 100% of women, that any woman who says that she's just not into it is broken or lying to herself. And actually, Jordan Peterson says something very similar. Many women want to have a baby. For many women, that is just a natural urge. That biological clock is a ticking. But many women don't. We have got to normalize the idea that mothering is just not for everybody. Everyone is not called to it. We know that because there are tons of women who have children who don't want to be mothers. There are so many women who have a baby to go along, get along, keep a man, fulfill some sort of societal expectation, and they're miserable as hell. If you really care about kids, we have to completely shift this conversation. Women who decide to opt out, women who recognize early that it's not for me, need to be praised for saving themselves and their children the misery. That kind of idea that every woman has to have a baby, that it's in us, that we are not fulfilling our biological destiny if we choose to opt out, is so often pushed by these raggedy men who would rather lecture women than listen to us. It is often the most sexist and patriarchal people who push that stuff because that is a way to maintain the social order. I'm just really over all these pronouncements about what women should do when we're routinely failing the children who are already here. I just don't believe the anti-abortion folks when they say that this is all about fetuses. It's all about fetuses, protect the little babies. No, I'm not there. It seems to me that this is ultimately about control. It's about maintaining a social order and primarily about punishing women, which actually leads to punishing children. And yeah, I am concerned, I'm scared, I'm worried because we are very close to a catastrophe in this country. We are a stone's throw away from a disaster that will kill and criminalize countless women. So yeah, shout out to the abortion providers whose livelihood and well-being is consistently at risk. Shout out to the activists and the organizers. Shout out to the politicians who are doing what they are supposed to do to protect their constituents. I think we're in a really bad situation. And that's all I have to say about that, you guys. Head on over to the Patreon where I'm getting pretty good about consistently uploading content. There's videos and podcasts over there. Thank you to all of the Patreon supporters. I appreciate you enormously. Sign up for the email newsletter, grab some merch, leave a comment, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. I will see it, even if I don't post. Bye. I'll see you next time.